We are Cop Connect, a group of lifelong Reds with one vision: to connect Liverpool fans everywhere through a spirit of friendship and togetherness, to build the world's most diverse, most inclusive Liverpool fan group. Join our growing community on our Cop Connect Facebook group, on Twitter and Instagram, and our website copconnect.com. Cop Connect, the ultimate Liverpool fan experience, brought to you by Liverpool fans, for Liverpool fans. Copconnect.com.
Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Connection podcast. I'm Daz. Usually Steve is with us today, but he's out playing footy golf. He just wanted to play. I think it's for charity this morning, so that's why he's not here. And today's special guest is... yeah, I'll let you know in a minute, but please don't send me hate mail or anything like that, because there's no need for it. But the reason why we do this show is basically, yes, it's for Liverpool Football Club supporters, but it's also about the community and the people of Liverpool. And our special guest today is an Evertonian. Is Dave Kelly, who is the chairman of Fans Supporting Foodbanks. Hiya, Dave.
Hello, Daz. Are you good?
Yeah, I am good. Very happy to have you on. So, you know, this episode doesn't go out until, a couple of weeks later. So
yeah.
Hopefully everyone, once they listen in like 2 weeks, they'll all be calm and once they've gotten through the episode, they'll be like, okay, sound. So what I usually do when we have guests on, obviously ask them, how come they're a Liverpool supporter, and then when was their, first match at Anfield. But obviously, with you being an Evertonian, I really want to ask you the same question. First match at Goodison and why you became a Blues fan.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I'll apologise for any negative vibes that you get and any of the listeners that you lose because of my appearance today. But I think it's a good question to start off with, to be honest with you, Daz. In spite of me having probably one of the most profound Scouse accents, I'm actually a first-generation Scouser. My father was an Irish Glaswegian and my mother was Welsh. Interestingly enough, my brother, my elder brother, was actually a Liverpool season ticket holder. And my father tried to drag me kicking and screaming to Anfield to watch Liverpool because I would have to follow the route chosen by my eldest brother, that you couldn't have two brothers in one family supporting opposing clubs. My mother advised him strongly against it, saying, he's a rebel and he'll do what rebels do. He'll fight back and he won't give in. So I was dragged there kicking and screaming. I had a fully miserable afternoon before actually going over to Goodison Park for the first time. My first match, believe it or not, was the same match as Everton had yesterday. It was an Everton-Man United game. And I think it's somewhat ironic that even before Rupert Murdoch invented Sky and Premier League football in 1992, Everton played Man United on a Monday night at Goodison. It was a 0-0 draw. Remember very little or nothing about the game, other than I was sitting in this, what I could only describe as a cathedral of football. I was totally in awe of the stands, the whole atmosphere, and sat there with a great deal of sense and pride. The irony of that was that Monday night was the Monday before the FA Cup final on the Saturday in 1966. So I was an incredibly proud Evertonian to be going to Goodison for the first time. And I fully grasped straight away about why Goodison was a World Cup venue and why it would eventually go on to host a World Cup semi-final. So in spite of all that, the game was a rather boring 0-0 draw. And if my memory serves me right, I think the FA fines Everton £10,000 for literally playing a reserve side.
So how old were you?
I was 8 years of age.
Oh, wow, young too, yeah.
So I think, to be honest with you, I think it shows how much football's changed since I've been supporting it. Now they would have to fine every team every week that submitted a team into the FA Cup, because it's commonplace now for reserve teams to play. But then it was extremely rare.
Yeah, my first was when I was 6. My granddad took me, to Anfield in the Cop. So I was just in awe at just, the atmosphere, more so not what was happening on the pitch. It was just the awe of like how many people were just crammed into Anfield back then, because of the standing.
But I think that was one of the few things I actually remember from that day, that my father repeatedly poking me and telling me to watch the match and not watch the crowd. It was 60,000 people in the stadium. It's a sight to behold, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. For any young kid, even for like older people now, not Scousers, but people that cross the pond and either go to Goodison or go to Anfield, they're still in awe. We talk to people that, because we have a Liverpool supporters club here, there's 40, 50-year-old men going to Anfield and like crying, when they first see Anfield. I'm sure same with Goodison too. I mean,
it's a pilgrimage, isn't it?
Yeah, you must meet so many different nationalities at Goodison. You can hear all the different.
But again, I think just on that, I think what's really interesting, as you well know, Liverpool have got this reputation of being a tourist club, because it's fortunate, to have a fan base across the whole of the world. Evertonians have to live within a 10-minute walk of Goodison, otherwise you're not an Evertonian. And since we started the food bank 5 years ago, I've realised how false that idea actually is, to be honest with you. And whether we like it or not, whether it's red or blue, the Premier League football is a global attraction which attracts people from all over the world. I think that's probably something that we've learned during the 5 years since we started supporting food banks. Very early on, you tend to find that most Scousers want to turn up at 5 to 3 and be in the seat by 4 minutes to 3. But there's a huge contingent of people from all over the world attracted to the games, yeah.
So, when was your first time at Anfield?
Probably. I'm probably just old enough, to be honest with you, Daz, to have actually gone and watched both clubs fairly regularly. Particularly with my older brother being a Liverpoolian, and I've watched Liverpool games home and away. I've been to many a fine away day watching them. And I actually had a sister who lived in Anfield Road. And probably the first one I didn't go, the first occasion I went to Anfield without my arm being up my back, being forced to go, would probably have been like most kids of the generation, the last 20 minutes when the gates open, just go in and have a look. So I'd watched the last 20 minutes of a game in the 70s.
So, you know, obviously watching Liverpool, was it tough? Were you rooting for the other team, or were you just, you know, hoping, you know, to get a win for your brother?
A bit of both. To be honest with you, it's a totally different scenario, isn't it, when you go into a stadium as a neutral, rather than being partisan. I think when you're a neutral, you're looking just to see a decent game, and a couple of goals, particularly if you've only got a 20-minute window of opportunity. You want to see something that makes it worthwhile. Probably one of the first games, and it wasn't the first game that I went to at Anfield by any stretch of the imagination. But I had the good fortune or the misfortune to be at one of your UEFA Cup final games at Anfield, the one against, was it Mönchengladbach?
I think so.
It actually got abandoned after about half an hour because torrential rain. And unfortunately, although I actually had the ticket for that, I couldn't go back the following night when the game eventually took place. I've seen Liverpool win the league. I've seen Liverpool win the league away in the 70s at Wolves. I've seen Liverpool play in the League Cup final at Old Trafford. So I'm not your typical bitter blue by any stretch of the imagination.
What's one, you know, one of your favourite, like, derby moments? You know, again, you know, I know Liverpool fans listening to this, like, why do you want to know about that? But, you know, to be honest, you know, I'm a football fan as well, and I'm sure you are as well, Dave. So yeah, what's one of your favourite, like, derby moments?
I think probably the one that springs to mind straight away was the 4-4 Cup game. For so many reasons, and I think the city itself had been through quite a traumatic period, hadn't it? And to host a cup tie like that, and the way it twisted and turned and went one way and the other, it was a remarkable game. And it had that was probably the derby in my experience that actually had anything. I can equally remember waking up the following morning to the news that Kenny Dalglish had resigned. And that probably makes it all the more poignant about what went on. And in fairness, Dalglish is someone I've always had the utmost respect for. And the way he conducted himself right the way throughout the whole of the Hillsborough disaster. Being a comfort and a counsellor and attending all them funerals, it's the measure of what a great man he actually is.
Yeah, Sir Kenny's just brilliant. He's just one, you know, he just seems like a person that just really cares, you know, because there's a lot of people, you know, in football that are kind of self-centred, you know, whether it be manager or player or even fans. But to me, the FA Cup final, you know, Everton, Liverpool, it just showed solidarity.
Absolutely.
You know, where we, you know, especially Liverpool, were getting, you know, called this and that and the other, and you know, the blue and reds came together. So now, I definitely want to get on to, you know, fans supporting food banks. I even hate that I even have to, like, we have to talk about this, you know, because it shouldn't happen in this day and age. But tell me, like, the history of when it all started.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, Daz, I think we should talk about it. And I think we should shout it from the rooftops. And I think we should be proud of how fans supporting food banks actually came together. And it's coming on things like this that gives us the oxygen of the publicity that we need. Without things like this and social media, we would probably still be collecting food outside outside Anfield and Goodison in the wheelie bin with very little or no public conscience of who we were and what we were doing or what we were trying to achieve. That you'll probably be surprised to learn that Fans Supporting Foodbanks actually kicked off. We'd been down to London to have a meeting with the Premier League during the height of the 20s Plenty campaign, when we're trying to get the Premier League to put a price cap on prices of match tickets, which was spiralling out of control. And one of the things, I actually sit on the National Council of the Football Supporters Association, which is the national body that represents supporters groups throughout the whole of the country. And one of the things that always struck me when we went into these meetings, whether it be with the Premier League or anyone else, all the other fan groups always used to say to us, it's all right for Scousers, because Scousers stick together. I'm the chairman of an Everton fan group called the Blue Union. I would always travel down there with the representative from Spirits of Shankly. Why wouldn't we? Did we have to go on separate trains or sit in separate carriages? No, not at all. What unites us is far greater than what divides us. And you would have a scenario where these 20 representatives of fan clubs from across the whole of the country, and you would get a Tottenham supporter wouldn't speak to the Arsenal supporter, and he would often relay messages via us as the conduit. City and United supporters, absolutely no relationships with each other whatsoever. And I think that's what makes football totally unique on Merseyside. Unlike other cities, fan bases are probably historically on geographical areas, and one part of the city will support one club, one will support the other. And that's what makes Liverpool unique. That's what makes Liverpool different. So when we went into the meeting, Richard Scudamore, who was the CEO of the Premier League at the time, gave a real good account of who and what the Premier League were, particularly emphasising the amount of charity work that they did, and they were extremely charitable and supported the wider community in and around football. I don't think that was ever open to debate. What he did imply, now he didn't actually say it, but he was basically saying, we're all singing and dancing, we're very shiny and we do lots of good charitable work. Fans don't do anything. And coming back from London on the train, we had a discussion about maybe it was time that we grasped the nettle and actually done something ourselves. And the more we spoke about it, the more it seemed realistic that we should be doing something, and we should use the unique selling point we had, whereby the fan bases from both clubs could do something together jointly rather than doing it separately. What we were going to do, we didn't really know, and we spoke about it a couple of hours back from London on the train. Now, the Walton constituency, as you're probably aware, is the only constituency in the UK to have two Premier League football clubs. Mm-hmm. So it's got these two really big, thriving, successful businesses with probably £1 billion turnover a year, with lots of wealth. Now, unfortunately, very little or none of that wealth actually ripples down into the local community. 6 of the 8 wards within the Walton constituency often finish in the top 20 as the most socially and economically deprived places in the UK. And that meeting was on a Thursday. The following day, we actually went to a meeting in a community centre, little more than half a mile away from Anfield. And we thought, there was a queue outside, and we thought, we hope these people aren't in a queue to come and listen to us talk. Unfortunately, the queue was for a food bank. And when we walked in there, the chairwoman of the community association explained to us that it was a queue for the food bank. The food bank that was just about to run out of food. And she took us to the stock room. And the stock room probably it certainly had the world's biggest bag of pasta in there. And it had probably a dozen small tins of tuna. And they were actually splitting the bag of pasta down and putting them in bags that you'd give kids sweets in to make sure that everyone got something. And we were horrified at what we'd witnessed. Welcome to the United Kingdom, the sixth richest nation on the globe, and you've got people queuing up to be given handouts, so to speak, to get some food. So we decided that, right, one of the things we'd had agreed on is that whatever what it was that we were going to do charitable, that it wouldn't be something that would compete with something that was already in existence, that we would do something that would complement something that was already in existence. So we made a couple of phone calls, and the food bank was launched. The following day, Saturday afternoon, it was actually morning kickoff. Everton played Man United on the Saturday morning. We got Liverpool City Council to donate the world famous Liverpool wheelie bin, and we stood outside the Winslow bin. I think the thing that surprised me more than most, I didn't realise that many Scousers used the bins. The bin had a lot of chip papers and beer bottles in it, and a small amount of food. We went into the ground for the match quite satisfied that we'd done something worthwhile. Took the food to the food bank, and then thought, well, we're going to have to do this again next week at Anfield. So we did exactly the same thing the week after at Anfield. And that was in October 2015. And in October 2020, we've just recently purchased a 7.5 ton vehicle that now actually takes food into communities that are suffering from food insecurity. So it's certainly grown unbelievably over that 5-year period. I think one of the proudest moments from a personal point of view, and I know myself and Ian and Robbie as the co-founders of Supporting Foodbanks, when we realised that the 5th anniversary was nearly upon us, and it coincided with the Merseyside derby. It was almost as if the scriptwriter had been smoking something when he scripted that line, that the two clubs would be playing each other on the 5th anniversary. Now, obviously, we had the big problem that because the game would be getting played behind closed doors, that we wouldn't be able to celebrate in any way, if that's the correct word. So we contacted both clubs, and in fairness, both clubs agreed, and both teams warmed up before the derby with Fan Supporting Foodbanks logos on the shirt. And it was an extremely proud moment to see this little idea that we'd had, that the team and the players were warming up with our logo on their shirts.
Do you still have the wheelie bin?
Unfortunately, no. We were nervously looking around for a photograph of the wheelie bin, to be honest with you, Taz. And perhaps it should go in the Labour History Museum in Merseyside. To be honest with you, when you start looking at who and what we put into place, from that day, right the way up till the UK went into lockdown, we collected 233 consecutive games at Anfield and Goodison. There wasn't one game missed. We did every single game in all weathers, and met and become close friends with people from all over the world, whether they be a red or a blue. And I think the first time I ever done an interview with a journalist, I said to them, simple fact of the matter is, I don't want to donate a tin of beans to an Evertonian. I want to donate a tin of beans to someone who is hungry. You know, football can be incredibly tribal, but let's only be tribal about it for 90 minutes. We've got people with real difficulties in our community, and that's what we're looking to do. I think I think the other thing on that, I mean, we often talk about the community spirit and the communities coming together. And one of the arguments was there was initially there was concerns about that you're actually letting the government off the hook by doing what you're doing. It's charity. You shouldn't be doing it. The government should be doing that. No one should go hungry. Well, yeah, I'll sign that petition. I agree 100%. However, I've always responded by saying, in the mid-80s, I live in Kirby, and in the mid-80s, Kirby Unemployed Centre set up a miners support group. That miners support group was the most successful in the country and collected more food than any other town or city across the country. And that wasn't looked upon as charity. It was looked upon as solidarity. It's about working class people coming together and showing solidarity. If you fast forward that 10 years on, and I know something that will resonate with the Reds out there. I worked for the trade union in my day job. 10 years later, I was still collecting food, but then I was collecting food for the striking Liverpool dockers. And again, as ever, Scousers stand up to the plate. They get it. They understand what solidarity is. And that's why we go to great lengths to actually say, this isn't charity, it's solidarity. It's working class communities, working in working class communities and defending our class.
Yeah, I think saying charity makes it a bit, because a lot of people are proud, and really don't want to go to these food banks, but they have to, to support their family. So when somebody says charity to them, I'm sure it hits them right in the heart. So solidarity, it's what Scousers have always done to help themselves. We had Sally Watkis from Home Baked on.
Yeah.
And she was telling us, what Home Baked does for the community as well. It is. I love the city. Obviously, I love the people. Doesn't matter where you're from. I'm from Formby. Kind of the posh side area, but still the same hardworking, Scousers that you have from Kirby, West Derby. But yeah, there is a need for it in this day and age, and it's sad, that the UK government doesn't do what it's supposed to do. The whole Marcus Rashford, why wouldn't you want to feed these kids? It blows my mind. Well, I mean, blows me mind, but pisses me off. We see it over here.
I think the interesting thing about that, does, and obviously I'm conscious of the fact that you probably just got up out of bed to do this. The government has done a U-turn, and it's now going to be providing them free school meals. Apparently, Bojo the clown rang Rashford last night and has give a commitment that no child will go hungry, and then free dinners will be provided.
Well, that's great to wake up to then. Yeah. Well, they shouldn't have had to do a U-turn. You should have done it in the beginning. But so with the new mobile pantry, was that from donations as well to buy it?
Well, basically everything we've got and everything we've done is down to people like you. Just the ordinary fan making a donation. whether it be a cash one or food. And I think one of the things we spoke about really early on in the campaign is that with the greatest will in the world, and it wouldn't matter how successful we became in collecting food, and you look at the enormity of what we're doing, believe it or not, 30% of all food donated to the North Liverpool Food Bank is collected outside Anfield and Goodison. Now, that's a remarkable statistic in itself, isn't it? In the 5 years that we've been operating, the demands on the food bank has risen 130%. And the figures and the statistics, when you start looking at them, they're quite frightening, to be honest with you. On the one hand, you've got demand going up through the roof, and on the other hand, you've got 30% of what you had predicted to potentially get donated as being removed because of the pandemic. And that's why obviously we've literally gone from an organisation that never ever wanted to collect money. I don't ever see myself or Ian Byrne ever being in a position where we're sitting on a big table with a load of receipts with income and expenditure and putting a balance sheet together. That was a route we don't want to go down. I'm spending 2 or 3 days a month doing stuff like that. I'm not out in the community doing what I should be doing. So obviously things became really difficult then. But we were also aware before that, that we wouldn't cure food poverty by collecting food outside Anfield and Goodison. Wasn't going to happen. So Supporting Foodbanks, right from day one, its mission was to try and get a stick and plaster for a gaping wound and try and collect food to help those most in need. But just as important, it was about building a movement, if you like, about building a movement and getting enough people on board to understand what we were doing and why we were doing it, to get food poverty and food insecurity on the political agenda. And I think it's something that we've managed to do, to be honest with you. And that's gone through the stratosphere over the last couple of months on the back of the magnificent work done by Marcus Rashford. But it's politicians and their policies of austerity that's created the crisis that we see on our streets. It's only politicians that will end that crisis as well. And I think it's somewhat ironic that now Ian Byrne, one of our co-founders, is now an MP, and he's shouting loud and proud about getting the right to food enshrined in law. And that's something that we will continue to do.
Yeah, I think he's given you like a massive voice now, you know, because locally you can do so much, but then when, you know, he, like you said, Ian becomes an MP, then you have that voice in government to say, hey, look, it's not okay. We need to do something. So, you know, hats off to Ian. Like I said, we interviewed him a couple of weeks ago and I was very honoured. You know, first off, I asked him how the hell he got into politics. You know, and he told me.
What did he say? Tell me, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, well, I mean, he just said like he was just tired of, you know, what was going on, and he thought that, you know, Liverpool needed a voice, and it went on from there. And I was just like, you know, well done, you know, because it was funny because I started off like the interview kind of going, I don't want to get too into politics.
Yeah,
you know, because it's a footy show, but it's a storytelling show. And then I was like, Ian was like, well, it's going to be a bit difficult. We got to talk about it because it's real. And you know, then I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, it is happening. You know, but it is good that people like Peter Moore have got involved. But you know, with the Liverpool one and Everton one, I think it's spread throughout the country now. You know, you have a lot more fan based doing the same thing.
Well, again, when we first set off, we run basically that whole campaign under the hashtag Hunger Doesn't Wear Club Colours.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because we firmly believed that we may well lead, others will definitely follow. And Newcastle United were the first club to jump on board. We contacted the straight away and said, look, it's amazing what you're doing. We'd love to get on board. And you look at everything we put out, to be honest with you, there's very little or no football content on the social media stuff we do, because it's not about the football, and clearly isn't. And Newcastle contacted us, and they got on the board, and they were up and running fairly quickly. And we explained to them, the fans supporting food banks doesn't even mention football. It could be fans of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not something that is uniquely attached to football. It doesn't mention Everton or Liverpool. It doesn't mention red or blue. The red and blue hands in our logo indicate enough where they're coming from. And we basically said to anyone and everyone, we're more than happy for you to use anything we're using. We'll send you all the stuff we've got. Just get out there and do it. Don't worry about it. And it's interesting, you just touched on Peter Moores. Peter Moores had sat down with us, and Peter Moores has been an absolute breath of fresh air for us in our organisation. He's someone who I've got the utmost of respect for, and he actually gave us a considerable donation to buy a new van. We'd sat down and had a discussion at the end of the season. It was probably a debrief, and he made the point. I've watched us from quite humble beginnings, a wheelie bin, to where you are now. He said, I was watching the last game of last season, and the van was full of food. The van's not big enough. It's not fit for purpose. So he actually said, I want to buy you a van. So it was a very moving conversation we had with him, for him to have bought into what we were attempting to do and to be that supportive of it. I think one of the other interesting things that he asked was, who come up with the hashtag Hunger Doesn't Wear Club Colours? I think it's inspired. So I said, it was me. So he said, have you considered copywriting it? So I said, so no, absolutely no intention whatsoever. He said, other people will start using it, So, well, that's the whole object of the exercise. I hope every fan group throughout the whole of the country uses it and goes out and tries to support their community in the way we have. And I think he got it himself then. He fully understood what we were trying to achieve. I think on the back of that sort of thing, we actually set up and organised. We had a national fan supporting food banks conference and invited all the clubs from all over the country who were currently doing stuff. And you think, when you look at the enormity of all that, there's a number of the clubs do exactly what we do. They do every single game. Some of them will do one a month, some of them one a quarter, and a couple even just do one a year, an annual one. And we were absolutely delighted. It was held in Newcastle, and it was quite deliberately held in Newcastle. They wanted us to have it in Liverpool, and we said one of the problems we'd have with holding it in Liverpool is if we had it at Goodison or Anfield, it might disenfranchise people and say, that's a red initiative, that's a blue initiative. If you'd hold it in Newcastle, you haven't got that problem. But geographically, all the clubs that had got on board at that stage were north of Liverpool. And if we went and held it in Newcastle, we could also invite a number of the Scottish clubs that had started operating as well. So there was 32 different clubs represented at that meeting, and it was a real good meeting. and there was a lot of positive come out of the meeting, and a number of really good relationships built with people you'd only exchange messages with. We've always said, just because we were the originals, we were the ones who started it, we haven't got the exclusivity on all the good ideas. We don't mind pinching on anyone else's good idea, you know what I mean? It's about us sharing ideas, and it's about us trying to adopt best practices to best serve our community. If you fast forward that on a couple of years, we grasped the nettle and had the next one in Liverpool. And again, to avoid having Anfield or Goodison, we actually held it in the Victorian splendour of St George's Hall, which is a bit ironic, holding a conference on food insecurity in the Victorian splendour of that magnificent building. But again, that was about people travelling from all over the country, straight off the train into St George's Hall. And by that stage, there was 46 clubs represented. And literally not a week goes by without someone from somewhere getting in touch and trying to get on board and looking for ideas on how to set up what's the best way to approach it.
Well, I think there's been a massive domino effect, especially over here. I know all the supporters clubs have really looked into, the food bank situation. I know here in Austin, Texas, we do, for the food banks there. I think Las Vegas do it as well. So it's great because, there's hungry people over here as well. I know in Norway they do the same. So it's all hats off to you lot that, have started it, this campaign, and it's gone global.
Well, to be honest with you, I was bursting with pride, which doesn't often happen when I get a message off of a Liverpool support group. But the LFC New York got in touch with us just prior to the derby and said, look, we're looking to do something for the derby. And I know the lads in New York, the Reds and the Blues came together, and they done a fundraiser and raised $6,000 for fan supporting food banks that they sent over to us. I know Reds and Blues in Cincinnati came together for the first time and watched the match together, and then went out and fed 500 people, most in need in their community. And that is the challenge, to be honest with you, Daz. And we're not saying it. We're not asking people whether they be stateside or anywhere else in the world to get involved and to do something, to send it over Liverpool. For God's sake, if you've got the need in your community, get involved with another fan group from another club. Start doing something. Start working collectively. Hunger isn't unique to this city, and I think one of the you'll know more than most about this Feed the Scousers, let them know it's Christmas time.
Yeah.
And we've always responded with that. Well, feed the Manx as well, and the Jordans and the Brummies and the Cockneys. Let's feed everyone. Let's not have anyone going hungry. And the same applies whether it be in the States or anywhere else in the world. I think the other thing, you'll probably be aware of the boycott pay-per-view campaign.
Yeah.
That we organised. And again, I think what was really good about that, Daz, is that that campaign was launched in a coordinated way because of the Fan Supporting Foodbanks network. And we decided collectively that as each club got selected for a pay-per-view game, that the food bank would adopt the pay-per-view campaign to boycott pay-per-view and donate £15 to the food bank. And I remember sitting there, Newcastle was the first to go live with that. And I was sitting there and I was quite nervous watching the Newcastle one grow and grow and grow and grow. And I ended up with over £30,000 donated by theirs. The next one to go was Leeds and Sheffield United. They ended up getting £80,000 donated. We were the next to go when the Liverpool Sheffield United game was selected, and that collected. We got £130,000 donated to that Just Giving page. I think the really interesting thing about that amount of money for a charity is mind blowing. It is absolutely mind blowing. But what's even more mind blowing is the data that we've got from that is priceless. And the data, there was 8,441 people that donated. The vast majority of them donated the £15. There was a few donated a fiver. There was 4 individuals donated for £1,000.
Wow.
There was one individual donated £5,000. And when you start to drill down in the data of who they are and what they are, the irony of it all was the furthest north was Aberdeen, right the way down to the south coast, across the Irish Sea into the Republic of Northern Ireland. Interestingly enough, there was people from America boycotting pay-per-view. Well, it wouldn't have even affected you. It wouldn't have had any impact on you because you had got them anyway.
Yeah.
And there was people from America, there was people from right across the whole of Europe, there was people from Australia, there was people from Japan. And that, to me, that's what solidarity is. And that's told us that there was nearly 8,500 people bought into what we were doing and feel passionately enough to make a donation to a food bank on Merseyside, and it shows the consent that they've got for the broadcasters and the Premier League for what we were doing. And I think it's somewhat ironic. Them pay-per-view games, there's only 3 countries in the world you can't watch them. Do you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the 3 countries are?
Well, UK is one, right? Yeah, which that in itself blows me mind because that's where the damn Premier League is. You know, I actually don't know the other 2.
Yeah, the other 2 are South Korea and Saudi Arabia. They're the only 3 countries in the world that you can't get access to them games. I think the broadcasters, BT and Sky, and the Premier League probably managed to get themselves embroiled and probably the biggest ever PR disaster that football's had since the Premier League came into being in 1992.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just greed, you know. But again, you know, football fans.
Well, again, it might be interesting for the Liverpool fans, who are the vast majority, if not all, of your audience, how different clubs operate.
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool haven't sold any season tickets this season. So, if you like, suspended, your application was suspended till next year and until things become clear. Everton have actually sold all their season tickets, and they went through the renewal process. That's not a criticism of Everton and saying, well, Liverpool have done this, you've done that. Everton went through the process of everyone applying to renew the season ticket and paying for the season ticket. That was mainly because Everton have got a number of initiatives where you can pay in 12 monthly instalments throughout the whole of the year. So they'd already kicked it off before football was closed down. So I've paid this year £550 for my season ticket for a game that I'm never going to be able to watch. And Everton are refunding in 3 tranches throughout the year. So they'll toss a number of games up, and then they'll give you your rebate and give you your money back. It was funny actually, because the day we launched the boycott pay-per-view campaign, Everton started playing the refunds on the season tickets. There was when it first came to light, I didn't realise that I had an email in my own inbox saying there's £93 winging its way to you. I couldn't work out why all these people were donating £93. Lots of them were donating it straight to us in the entirety with a message. When the other comes through, we would donate that straight to you as well. So the reality of it all is your average fan in the UK, I'm paying £550 for a season ticket. I'm paying £100 to Sky, and I'm paying £30 to BT. And now they're saying, we want you to pay an extra £15 per game if you want to watch the other games that we've locked you out and preventing you from watching. And it's obscene, isn't it? It's a balance.
Well, it's getting worse over here actually, because the Premier League games you gotta pay NBC Peacock, right, to watch the Premier League.
Yeah.
Then you've got to pay CBS All Access to watch the Champions League. Yeah. Then you've got to pay ESPN Plus to watch FA Cup. It's just getting ridiculous, you know. It's price gouging, you know.
Absolutely. When I first signed my contract to be a subscriber to Sky Sports, you got your Premier League stuff, you got your Champions League Cup, FA Cup and League Cup. You don't now. You don't get any of them. Yeah. Sky don't have them, BT have them. So it's almost as if they're dangling the carrot to get you to buy into it, to get you used to sitting in the house and watching it, and then move it along onto another channel or another broadcaster because they think they've got you hooked. And I think it's actually reaching the pitch. I don't know, locally, there's loads of people that said to us over the last couple of weeks that for the first time I listened to an Everton game or a Liverpool game on the radio, and I quite enjoyed it. I think people will eventually start voting with their feet.
Well, that's the thing too. I think, you know, once this pandemic is over and you know, fans can go back in the stadium, fans have more of a voice now, because again, you know, we all watch these matches. It's not the same. It's like training matches, you know, with a bit of oomph sometimes. I mean, obviously, you know, you're seeing these crazy results, and that's because fans aren't in the stadium.
Well, to be honest with you, Daz, and that was one of the things when we were in the 20s Plenty campaign with the Premier League. We were actually having to explain to them that you're selling an extremely valuable commodity to a global audience, but you're selling a full package, and that package is enhanced by us being in there.
Mm-hmm.
The colour, the noise and the vibrancy we bring to the games actually makes the product you're selling a greater asset. And I think they very quickly picked up on that, particularly on the back of when Spirits of Shankly managed to get 17,000 fans to walk out of Anfield over exorbitant ticket prices. And I often think we need to stop calling ourselves fans. Maybe if we call ourselves consumers, might actually listen to the consumers more than they did to the fans. I think during the height of that campaign, we actually started targeting the partners of the Premier League, and we rocked up outside Barclays Bank because it was the Barclays Premier League at the time. They were the main sponsor, and basically said to them, the broadcasters aren't listening to us, the Premier League isn't listening to us. We're your customers. Are you going to listen to your customers? We had a number of meetings up to director level at Barclays, who then gave us a letter of support. And when you looked at it, and you won't be aware, you probably won't be aware of this. The Premier League actually has a solidarity fund, and I was delighted when I found out that it had a solidarity fund. That solidarity fund gives the Professional Footballers Association £17 million plus a year. And that's because they're using their members' images.
Mm-hmm.
They give the League Managers Association over £1.5 million a year, again, because they're using their members' images. And we were saying to the Premier League, the only ones who aren't getting a piece of the cake here is the fans. We don't actually want you to give us money. We want you to put a cap on tickets. We need to try and ensure that the working man's game isn't charging business-like costs for match tickets. And that's simplifying the whole argument, isn't it? Where they're saying, "Oh no, you can't have a piece of the cake. You're not getting none of the action." And when we actually pointed out to Barclays Bank, we went down to Canary Wharf and met them, and sitting in their boardroom, and there's obviously the stuff on the wall about the Barclays Premier League, and they actually promote the Barclays Premier League using images of fans, but they don't see us as an integral part of it.
Well, I mean, all you really need to do now is like just watch, these big finals, like the Champions League final in Madrid. You've got your Liverpool Spurs fans, who, especially for Spurs, waiting, for the big European night, and you can only get like 30,000 Spurs fans. The same with Liverpool fans, and then you have like 20,000, pretty much non-fans. It's all the owners of these companies and commercialised crap. That pisses me off. Those stadiums should be filled with the fans. That's it. It drives me nuts to see, to see them like at half time. You see, that side of the stadium gets empty because they all go in the lounges and stuff and have the champagne and all that crap. Yeah, that's ruining football for me. The hard-working fan who's probably saved up, to go to a final and then can't get in because.
Again, I've never particularly had a problem. I don't mind someone in a corporate setting in a lounge paying £1,000 for a match ticket. Let them pay as much as they want, because it's either tax deductible or it's a business expense. However, football's got to be affordable. There's got to be a price range of tickets that enables people from all sections of society to attend games. It's as simple as that. And again, Liverpool and the £9 ticket that they're now selling, albeit in relatively small numbers, you can get a season ticket in the family enclosure at Goodison. Works out at £5 a game to watch Everton. Some might suggest that it's £4 too much after yesterday's performance, but that's what football is. Football should be made available to anyone who wants to watch it.
Well, I mean, as you know, Dave, like us growing up, there was tons of kids that would go. Now you see less and less. There's not families going anymore because they can't afford it. And that's the heart and soul of football.
Well, to be honest with you, the demographic of the match-going fan has changed dramatically over the last 20 years, for the worse, to be honest with you, because the average age of the fan gets older and older and older, because you're actually pricing the kids out of the game. Mm-hmm. And that's why there has to be an imaginative pricing policies to enable, and even things down. You'll get these clubs who've got cheap or cheaper tickets for school children. So you leave school and go to college or university, and you're a student, and you've lost that concession. Mm-hmm. All that needs to be factored in.
Yeah, it's just that things need to be changed. Whether they will, I don't know. I mean, I hope so. But I also wanted to get on to Goodison, because I mean, you are going to have a new stadium, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be a sad day to see, Goodison go.
Well, I'm pleased that on my CV, I was actually chairman of the Keep Everton in Our City campaign group that campaigned against the club moving to Kirby. And I take a great deal of satisfaction of spending a couple of years fighting what I believed was a bad move by our club. We managed to take on a Premier League football club, the biggest retailer in Europe, and a local authority, get them into a public inquiry, and for that public inquiry to actually give a decision that supported our argument rather than theirs. I will leave Goodison Park with an heavy heart. I was convinced during the obscenity of going up to Kirby that Goodison Park could have been redeveloped if the desire was there. And I still believe that that's going to be the case. However, I will get behind the big brass band and the banner and march down to Bramley Moor Dock when we go there, because I think any football club, irrespective of where it is in the world, it brings a sense of civic pride. It's actually embedded into our culture of who we are and what we are. And that's why I was fundamentally opposed to Everton going out to Kirby. Everton Football Club is a club. Obviously, we're proud of the originals. We often shout, don't we? We were the first club in this city. We should never be an exit in this city. It was akin to me to Wimbledon becoming MK Dons. Mm-hmm. Football clubs in the UK ain't franchises. You may well have franchises in America. And if you can move Everton to Kirby, I'd be advocating moving Liverpool to Birmingham. And I say that jokingly. But yeah, our football clubs are a great sense of civic pride. They are our identity. They are our culture. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to progress, if you like, isn't it? But it's progress for the right reasons rather than jumping into bed with a retailer like Tesco. We're going down there on our own side. And I think the romantic notion of on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey certainly resonates with all the blues of the city.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, I'm glad FSG, kept with Anfield and expanded, because if we would have left Anfield, that's the heart and soul, and you can see just like West Ham, and I think Arsenal as well. Highbury is a place I used to love to go to. Steeped in history. And then they moved to the Emirates, and that soul gets lost. Same with West Ham. Upton Park was brilliant. You all packed in there. Now it's like, you got to look where the game is. It's.
Well, I think if you asked any fan a question, what's their favourite away ground? I think most of them have said Upton Park. Mm-hmm. Everyone loved going to Upton Park, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it was always a great day out. And you more often come away from there with 3 points as well. You go into that soulless monstrosity that they're playing in now, and you're right. You may as well take a pair of binoculars with you. You're that far removed from the pitch. And I've got grave concerns about the direction that West Ham could go in, because I think they could go into free fall if they ever got relegated from the Premier League. Mm-hmm. The dream would be over, wouldn't it? It'll be interesting to see how they evolve over the years to come. Our West Ham currently a football club with a fan base of 60,000 fans. I'm not too sure they are. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'm wrong on that. I don't like to see any football club wither on the vine. they seem to be relatively stable at the moment, don't they? But I think the fans still aren't happy with it, and they realise that they've been sold a dream that's potentially becoming a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. And they've actually started off pretty all right. So I think the fans are happy now, but once results start turning and everything, you never know what'll happen.
I think we've got a really good relationship with the Irons Food Bank at West Ham. And the lad who runs it and who sets it up is actually Northwest based. So we spent a lot of time with John, giving them all the help and advice we can. And it was bizarre, really, to be honest with you, Daz. The hoops he had to jump through to do what we were doing. And there's all kinds of anomalies regarding that stadium. That so-and-so owns that bit, but they own that bit, but they don't own that bit on match day. And it probably took him 9 or 10 months to finally get some sort of agreement whereby he could just turn up and start getting donations towards a food bank. That club was probably enshrined in the working class of the West End, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It probably very much like Everton, to be honest with you, wasn't it? It was in a similar type area to Goodison and Anfield, with loads of terraced houses and high-rise flats in and around. A proud club who've had a large part of the heritage ripped away from them, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I noticed was it like 2 seasons ago? There was West Ham fans fighting against each other in the stadium.
Yeah, I know. Last time we played there before football got closed down, we were at the food bank, and that's one of the things. This afternoon, the Liverpool Man City game, we'd been taking food up to the Man City food bank and donating it to them, and they'd do likewise when we come down here as a show of solidarity. Last time Everton played West Ham, we were standing there doing the food bank collection with them, and there was probably 4,000, 5,000 standing on a riverbank campaigning against Gold and Sullivan. And it's a far from happy ship. They'll have to go a long way to mend and repair the damaged relationships that they've got. But I think Liverpool demonstrated that you can repair them relationships, can't you? Whether you'd have actually repaired the relationship with X and Gillette remains to be seen. But on FSG at the moment, we're in the lucky position at the moment on Merseyside, whereby the clubs are actually listening now. They are actually having dialogue, and they've learned the lessons of the mistakes they've made in the past, and long may that continue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Spirit of Shankly, have done a fantastic job. Joe Blott and co. I've just, basically gone. You've got to. The club's got to talk to us.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that. FSG have made some stupid mistakes, but what they've done is actually listened then and turn things around, which is what you're supposed to do. I mean, the dumbest thing I think they've ever done was like to trademark Liverpool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. That's bad.
But I think the problem with that as well, though, is what they should be doing with things like that. They should be consulting before they attempt to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not going through the PR disaster and then consulting and then having to backtrack. And it's a bit like Boris Johnson on these school meals now, isn't it? If they consulted with people, I had the good fortune of taking part in a Zoom call with Jurgen Klopp a couple of weeks ago, myself and Ian, and a lad called John Parry. And when he summed it up at the end, Klopp was absolutely brilliant. He's world class, absolutely world class. He gets it.
Mm-hmm.
And his parting shot was, he said, one of the problems we've got, we're in this cocoon, we're in this Premier League cocoon that all players and people associated with the club are in. And he said, what we need to do, we need to listen to people like you that actually know what's going on the ground. So we need to listen to you and we need to learn from you. And in fairness to him, he said, I can assure you that once this pandemic is finally over and we return to some sort of normality, he said, I want to sit down with you and let's have a bite to eat and a chat and talk about what's going on in the communities that surround our clubs. And that's exactly it, isn't it? Sit with people and listen to what the fears, their aspirations, their dreams are. And it saves all that bad feeling, doesn't it?
Well, it's like, you can totally understand why, Klopp is looked at like Shankly-esque, because he gets Liverpool, not just the football club, but the people, the community, and that just makes me beam with pride, because we finally got a manager that just gets it.
Just bear with me for 5 seconds while I get some. I don't know if you can see that, Daz.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, wow.
Can you see what it is and what it says?
125 years, players. I can't see the bottom.
It says, it's got the Liverpool crest on it, 125 years, Players Awards 2018, Bill Shankly Community Award, Fan Supporting Foodbanks.
That is brilliant.
And now, you've got to bear in mind, I'm an Evertonian.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it, yeah?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Now, as an Evertonian, I'm immensely proud of that, because I'm not, I maybe not be the better blue that most Liverpoolians think all Evertonians are. I'm extremely honoured that Fan Supporting Foodbanks were recognised for the work they done, and I couldn't think of a more fitting trophy than something with Shankly's name on it, because Shankly's cut from the same cloth as what we are. We're immensely proud of that, you know what I mean? And that's what it's all about, isn't it? And Klopp is cut from similar cloth, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's just, I don't know. Like you said, he's a person that, you can just sit down with, and there's no facade about him. He's just Jürgen, and he has a heart, he has a soul. But yeah, before we kind of wrap this up, where can people find more information about the Fan Supporting Foodbanks?
I think our advice to anybody, we often get asked, to be honest with you, Daz, haven't you got a website? No, we haven't got a website. Everything we do is on social media. We haven't got a website. Maybe because we haven't got the IT skills to get one up and running all the time to sit there compiling articles to go on there. Social media, and if you just look for Fan Supporting Foodbanks on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, you'll find us there. As I said, it's been an incredibly long journey, and I think the news this morning that school dinners are going to be provided to school children is the first step towards an even longer road to get the right to food enshrined within law in the UK. And on behalf of Reds and Blues, I would like to thank everyone stateside who supported us. The irony of it all is that does. When we were into lockdown, I hadn't missed an Everton home and away game in 17 years. I go home and away. And you look at the where we are currently. The last match day collection we did was the Liverpool Atletico Madrid Champions League game. The last match I went to was Everton versus Chelsea at Stamford Bridge when we got walloped 4-0. The last time I set foot in Goodison Park is I took part in a charity sleep out, and I slept out a Friday night into the Saturday to raise funds for homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
How ironic, sitting under your own seat in the Park End stand all night was the last time I actually set foot in the stadium. But fans supporting food banks is absolutely nothing without the likes of people like you and the fans across the world who've supported us all the way through. And that's something we're absolutely indebted to, and we thank each and every one of them.
Well, I'm really honoured that you came on. Like I said, it is basically a Liverpool footy podcast. But me and the other lad that comes on, I wish Steve was on. Really, he wanted to be on, but like I said, he's out there playing. Have you heard of footy golf?
Yeah.
Well, he's out there doing the charity, so he's sorry he couldn't make it. But we love to bring people who can tell a story. And yours is reality. And if one person who listens to the show does something for the food banks or does something, to help others, then fair play. That's what we want.
And that's what drives us on, to be honest with you, Daz. If I go to bed tonight, I let me head at the pillow, and I always think at least one kid tonight has gone to bed not hungry. He went to bed last night hungry because of something that we've done. And that's the driver, that's the thing that keeps you going on. And me and Ian appeared on TalkSport Ireland yesterday. It's funny, actually, because same as yourself, this is a football thing you're running, and we've spoke for very nearly an hour or however long it's been. We haven't even scratched the surface about football, have we? Mm-hmm. And I know we've done quite a bit of stuff in Ireland for obvious reasons. We've got huge fan bases over there, and it's not that far or that difficult for us to get over there. And my challenge to you and to everyone who watches your programmes or subscribes to your YouTube, do something collectively with other fans, make a difference, and let your own community benefit from it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I just think sometimes, like you said before, there's some footy fans are just like, I don't want to associate with, because I think there's a big Man United presence in Texas. There's Spurs fans as well, but their own little little blinders, the groups. But no, that's a great idea. I'm gonna because Steve, who's the co-host, he's actually the president of the official supporters club here. So I'll have a chat with him and see what he can do.
Have you got any relationship with any Evertonians in Texas?
One.
Nice.
I mean, he's a mate of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I've known him for a long time. He's an expat as well. But the pub because I've been over there, 20 plus years. The pub that I started going to.
You're clinging on to that accent, aren't you?
I have to, mate. I have to. Yeah, well, and I mean, I'm loud and proud of where I'm from, so I'll never lose it. Maybe I'll say some words that American, but I try and you know, stay true to who I am. You know, that'll never leave you. Like they always say, a Scouser is a Scouser.
Well, purely coincidental. Probably one of the most famous Evertonians stateside, excluding Tim Howard, is actually based in Texas. I don't
Really?
know. His name's David France, and his name's Dr. David France. And I'm telling you now, you need to go and seek him out, and you need to get him on your programme.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you for why. He collected the biggest collection of football memorabilia in the world.
Oh, wow.
Now, it was all Everton stuff. And by definition, it's Liverpool stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
He actually had copies of every single programme that Everton have ever had from 1878.
Oh,
so
wow.
again, by definition, right from the start. So the first 14 years of the history, he'll be able to tell you a wax lyrical chapter and verse. And he went out to America. He works in the petrochemical industry. And he's a gentleman. He's a very, very, very knowledgeable. And his lifetime ambition was to get all this stuff together. And he collected it, brought it all together. He's actually got, or had, the boardroom minutes from when Everton split away and vacated and went across the park. So he's got all the boardroom minutes are all there. And I would say to any Reds listen to this in all seriousness, if you go on there, if you just Google the Everton collection, mm-hmm. and what David France did when he compiled all this, he actually sold it to something called the Everton collection, which is a charitable trust to preserve it and to digitise it. You can access that in America and look in and get the infinite detail of what was going on at boardroom level right from the outset. But it's an extremely, he's an extremely interesting man, and I think when you talk about it being novel, what we're doing, Evertonians, Liverpoolians doing something collectively, you'll probably be shocked when I tell you, for nearly 30 years, Everton and Liverpool used to share a programme.
Yeah, I heard.
and basically, whoever was at home that week at the front half, and whoever was away at the back half, all them programmes are in that collection. And he reached such a stage that he had a ridiculous amount of stuff, and he thought, I can't carry on keeping this stored in boxes and archived. It needs to be out there for a wider audience to see it. And I think that's one of the things that makes their football in the city really unique, because there's no other clubs formed in the way we formed, that a duopoly was created from one club. And it is a real, I don't know, you tend to find that people I've met from America are really interested in the history and the heritage and how it all came to be. Certainly someone you want to try and look up.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to leave you with this. Where do you see Everton this season? I had to ask.
Where do I see it?
Yeah.
I had people telling me a couple of weeks ago that we were going to win the league. And I was saying a couple of weeks ago, another 30 points on my safe. And I say that because I've got a dark sense of humour.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks on, it's now only 28 points on my safe. I see us in a relatively good place, in so much that we've wasted millions of pounds on average and mediocre players. We've gone and bought some really good players. who didn't particularly fit into a system because the manager didn't know or have a system. I think we've got a manager who was a top manager.
Yeah.
Got an idea of the system he wants to play, the tactics he wants to play, and will actually identify the players who will play in that system. We're a work in progress. I would like to think that we will finish in a European place. If we don't, I would like to think that we'll get a couple of decent cup runs. Ideally, I'm getting too old now. I'm 62 years of age and still waiting for us to win the League Cup. So if we won the League Cup this season and finish 16th, I'd look upon that as a successful season, to be honest with you. But I think we're a work in progress, and for the first time in a long time, you can actually see some sort of plan now in place. And Ancelotti will attract marquee players without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, he already has, you know. I have to actually say, for 1 second, I was actually proud to see, you know, Liverpool and then Everton at the table.
I like the better when it said Everton and Liverpool, but I get your point.
Yeah, it didn't last long.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, fair play to you. I really do.
You know, the funny thing you're saying that it didn't last long. When I was sitting watching the match yesterday, one of the commentators said, if Everton win, we'll go top of the league again. I thought, that'll do me. Another hour, please. Just let us be top for another hour. And that's how desperate we are as fans, isn't it? Any fan of any club, anywhere. And imagine what it must currently feel like to be a Southampton supporter.
I know. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, they're playing fantastic football. I feel sorry for Ings again. He just can't get a break.
That's why all this nonsense about Big Six breakaways and changing the fabric and all the rest of it. It's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
The pyramid of football the whole pyramid is based on promotion and relegation and all clubs being treated equally. Mm-hmm. My own view on that is I'd like to know who the Big Six are, or do they mean the Sky Six?
Yeah.
Because it's a different thing. And the reality of all that is, if they want to go off to pastures new and go and play in some sort of European league, or good riddance, it's sacrosanct. It's non-negotiable, isn't it? You can't give people wild cards because they haven't qualified for something because you're seen as a big club with a big following. You get it anyway. That's why there's troubled waters ahead, isn't it? But the direction the beautiful game's heading in.
Well, yeah. Well, VAR's doing a good job of ruining that. I'll tell you that. I just that's like another episode. Once I get started,
you're absolutely spot on, Daz. I know just before we went into lockdown, you'd score a goal, and the whole concept of a goal being scored is you spontaneously combust and go ballistic, and you stop doing it.
Now you got to wait 5 minutes. You got to wait 5 minutes.
You're looking up at a scoreboard to see if VAR's cleared it, and you've got this nervous 20, 30 seconds if you're lucky, or 3 or 4 minutes if you're unlucky, and it takes the spontaneity away from the game, doesn't it? It's like a death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, it's not like you wait 3 minutes and then you're gonna jump up, like mad. It's just losing it. But it's just the decisions that just blow my mind. This whole offside crap, by a toenail or an armpit. It's whatever.
Do you know the funny thing is? And I've looked. I've gone into the records and looked at statistics. I've never once seen armpit as the leading scorer in any league or for any team ever.
Yeah,
it's nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen an armpit actually score either. So Who knows, mate? But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up because I can hear the four kids driving my wife crazy.
Good.
But again,
enjoy your game this afternoon.
Well, yeah, it's going to be another tough one, but you know, I think we could do it. I mean, you know, the Liverpool Football Club, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing about City at the moment is you don't know whether you get the real City's going to turn up, because they're that hot and cold at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. You can never rule City out, though. You know, like some pundits are saying City aren't the same and this and that, but you know, I don't mean to be too, you know, brash, but I think it's still a Liverpool, Man City kind of, you know, like table.
Yeah.
So,
well, what is the old saying? Class is permanent, form is temporary.
Exactly. Well, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure. Please keep in touch with me. And like I always say, once this pandemic is over with and I can fly back home, I'll be the first one on the plane. And what I'm going to try and do is all the guests that I've had on are mostly from Liverpool anyway. We're all going to try and get together in a pub, you know, and have a good chat and a good few pints.
Yeah. And see if you can do something in Texas. Get some Blues and Reds together and support your local community.
No, I will. After this, I'm gonna message Steve and say, get off your arse and let's get going.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks very much for the invitation.
You're welcome, Dave. Stay safe and keep doing what you're doing.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Bye now.